Okay, there we go. You miss so many things out there, Internet. If you were in this classroom before this camera started ever, you just miss so much stuff. It is worth it to be here. Anyway, that's my plug. Yeah, and after. We have good talk. We do have good talk after. Yes. Behind the scenes will never come out on a video. Sorry, you're just not going to see it. Anyway, so, all right, Broken and Remade. Hello, welcome. Today, the message came to my mind based on kind of a thought I've had recently. Sometimes, again, I have different ways that the Lord brings messages into my mind. Sometimes it's a section of the Bible. Sometimes it's dealing with one specific character or person, I should say, in the Bible. And, this time it was a thought that popped into my head while I was showering, just so everyone knows. That's such a place to think. Do you ever have just those brilliant thoughts in the shower of all places? Like you are just, I don't know what it is about that, but at least it was the shower, not something, anything else in the restroom, as far as, because I get some good thoughts other places too. I got Bob Cranged by Michelle. You could have been here to see it. It happened live here. Okay, anyway. But when I'm in the shower sometimes, I'll just be all of a sudden like I'm Einstein. I don't even know what's happening. Brilliance just in the shower. I wish I need to just put a whiteboard up on my wall and just kind of write things down. We'll find some waterproof ink, of course. But anyway, no, really. So as I'm doing that, all of a sudden, I've been a Christian for 23 years, somewhere in there. Anyway, a lot of years. I've preached a lot of years. I've studied my Bible a lot of years. There's a lot of truths I've learned and taught. And it's one of those thoughts you have that you've always really known the fact, but it like sinks in a different way. I don't know if you've ever had that experience. If you read the Bible, if you study the Bible, if you listen to God's Word, preached or taught, a lot of times you'll have these moments where you hear the same exact thing and you go, oh, it's called like revelation. Like there's a truth. God is, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, okay? Truth exists, God's truth. It is been set from eternity past. It will always be. God is not confined by our time. There is truth. And through our lives, as we're growing and getting to know this God and getting to know the way things work with Him, we start to discover or be revealed to us truths that have always existed with Him, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Many times in the Bible when His disciples would say, well, you're the Christ, He would say, no man taught you this. Like, this was not from a man. Like this is revealed to you from the Father. Like, this is from God. And that's what this class is allotting for. I'm just up here as a vessel, same as you, peers. We're not a hierarchy around here. You're no worse than me, no better than me. You might be better at things, but we're not better people than each other. And God has opened my eyes on certain things and given me the knowledge, right? And the class is to be able to spend some time in His Word and kind of take the truths that exist and apply them into kind of the broken and remade concept of how can we apply these things to our lives? Like, what can we do with it? I want us to be able to walk out of here a lot of times with, I got something else I need to just kind of push toward, and this will make me, have joy and peace in my life. And this is one of the things that is so matter of fact, but it's amazing to me. Jesus started His ministry, started His public ministry right around the age of 30. Okay, so think about that, right around the age of 30. Now, He may not have been 30 on the button. The Bible says He was about 30. He was right around 30 years old. And when He died on the cross, He was right around 3.5 years later, about 33.5. It's argued He could be as much as 40 or whatever. It's never specifically told in the Bible. That's actually something that's just been theorized or debated about because there are references. And if you do the math and you start knowing when Pontius Pilate was around and when this government happened and when these things were happening, it had to be around, a certain number of AD that Christ, BCE they call it, before, Common Era and then Common Era, all this stuff, okay? We can get into the history, but that's another class. But anyway, so Jesus Christ, who many people in the world, understand and respect as a great man, a great teacher. They like to say that, even a non-believer, someone that's an atheist, someone who, if they study it out, they have to admit that a man named Jesus walked this earth. They have to. Like if you go through history, you read, non-Christian historians and philosophers and different people around that time frame, Jesus exists in our documents that we are respectfully thinking are legitimate history. So they admit that. Now, if they don't admit that, they haven't studied it out, okay? Jesus walked this earth. Many of them believe that Jesus was wise and was a great teacher and a really nice guy. And they have this idea of him, okay? Well, many of them will say, well, he never claimed to be God. Well, these people haven't read the Bible. They haven't read historians and the way Jesus did go to the cross and why, and how the Jewish Sanhedrin and court and the Pharisees and Sadducees looked at him and saw him and had to basically take him to the Roman government because of his blaspheming, they said. Well, he was claiming equality and being the way to the Father, and that the Father was in him, and he was, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father, all these things. And we're going to read some of those verses. So Jesus, changed history, changed the world. Non-believers will admit that. A lot of things have come about since the death of Jesus Christ on the cross. A lot of things. Even if a person out there does not believe he rose from the dead, don't believe it. They do not believe that he has the powers of God. He is God. They don't believe it, okay? They will admit to you whatever he did absolutely changed the entire world from that day on. We have hospitals, we have educational facilities, all these places that came from a Christian mindset or background. Teachings that, you hear of the hospitals, what do we have? We have St. John, St. Joseph, St. Mary, all these hospitals that are around that came from the concept of Christendom or Christianity, right? A lot of our colleges and universities came from a group of Christian scholars who got together. Now, it may have changed through the years, and many of our colleges today do not adhere to Christian belief. But if you study the history, listen, this Jesus changed this world. Agreed? Agreed. Changed this world. You have to agree. He absolutely changed this world. He was either a great, amazing, smart, intelligent man who did his best and made a difference, or he was who he said he was and was God in the flesh and really brought something new to this earth that changed it, okay? In about 3.5 years or 4 years. Think about this, okay? There are people in history who've changed our world. Absolutely changed our world. Inventors, scientists, brilliant philosophers, brilliant men who've come up with concepts, governmental concepts. Think of our forefathers. Think of the people who started this nation. These guys were fleeing a tyrannical government. They go across the sea. Many of them died on boats because when they came across the Puritans and all these people that were coming over, they died on these boats because they were getting sick. It was a long trip. They didn't know what to expect. They get here and they set up this community, these colonies and this group of people, right? And they did amazing things. They changed our lives. Because as history progressed, these people came up with an idea, a concept, then a government, and they got together. And this government, we all can admit, is amazing. like even other governments, like other countries, look back at the history of America and the way we built the Constitution and we built the way our government works with checks and balances. I mean, we are amazingly set up as a country. No matter what side of whatever issue you're on, we're in a country that is just amazing in its process of things. Now, that can go up and down through history. It can be a good time, a bad time, whatever. But here we still are with a government set up by a bunch of fellas in the 1700s. I mean, this is pretty amazing stuff. Okay? For most humans, that takes a lifetime. A lifetime. Like you have to learn, you have to experience, you have to trial and error. You know, I hear about people like Abraham Lincoln who failed at so many elections, and then, you know, he was eventually elected president, but this was after a bunch of failures and losing a lifetime. And now we know him because he made a huge difference. But it took a lifetime. It takes us a long time to really make an impactful difference, and many of us don't even make much of a difference. I mean, in the world, like we might affect our community, our small group of people, the people that gather around with us, our friends, our loved ones, whatever, live a good life, affect the small little circle. But to change the world changers, it often takes a lifetime. What can you do in 3.5 years? That is such a small little segment of our lives, let alone all of history. Like, imagine, just roughly, and I know again, the numbers can be argued, okay? But let's say 3 to 5 years. Let's say that, okay? 3 to 5 years. Somebody lives and changes everything for the rest of all the days in this 3 to 5 years. When you get a new job, it often takes 3 to 5 years to even establish yourself. It takes 3 to 5 years if I join a new church to even get to know people. When I joined Riverdale, that was a big church, you know, and I've been part of bigger, like 1,700 member churches. Listen, being at Riverdale, we were there for many years. And it still, even after like 6 years of being there, we were still like not even understanding or knowing each and every person there. I mean, I couldn't make an impact on every single member there, let alone even learn their name in that many years. But in 3 to 5 years, Jesus made the biggest difference in this world than anyone has ever made before. That's powerful. Like, I mean, that's ridiculous. That is not just human. It's amazing. But I want you to realize that you can make a difference in your own life, in others' lives, in 3.5 years or 5. I mean, you can do something. A lot of us think, well, I've ruined too much of my life. I've been through too much. I just don't know what I could do. What can I do to make a difference? Well, listen, do you have like 3 to 5 years right now? Maybe. We don't know. But if you do, what are you going to do with those 3 to 5 years? Jesus changed the world. And we have been promised to have Jesus endue us with power from the Father to do greater works than he ever did, he said. That's crazy. I mean, think about that. Jesus' words were, even greater works will you do. Well, what greater work in the world can I ever do? Well, I'm a sinner. I have failed. I have horrible things that have happened in my lives. Or my lives. Sorry, I let the schizophrenic out. In the many lives I've lived.
You're a cat.
Yeah, I'm a cat. I'm on life 7. Let's keep it going. But, you know, it's now I've thrown myself off with that joke. But anyway, Let me carry on with the Bible, okay? Let me get to the Bible. Michelle with the cat reference makes me all like messed up. All right, so let's take some Bible verses and look at this segment of Jesus' life and understand that I mean, you know, he lived a pretty normal life up to this point of public ministry. And we're going to see that going to his hometown. And like I was saying, you know, I'm a sinner. I'm saved by grace through Jesus. Jesus has promised to endue me with power. And what can I do that Jesus wasn't doing? Well, I now carry God's Spirit in me, just like Jesus did, and I'm able to share the gospel with you and watch people be saved and watch their lives turn around and change in amazing ways. Okay? So here we go. Let's read this. Luke chapter 3. We're going to read just one verse out of Luke, and then we're going to jump over to Matthew chapter 13. And then we're going to get to the book of John. So for now, though, Luke chapter 3. And this is just simply just showing a verse talking about what I had started with, my introduction, okay? Luke 3:23. Luke 3:23. This is where it says, "Now Jesus himself began his ministry at about 30 years of age, being," and I love this, by the way, okay? Now, I don't know how it is in other Bibles, okay? And I don't know how translations handled this word or this moment. But for me in my Bible, what it says is being, and in parentheses, it says, as was supposed. I don't know. Someone else has a different Bible, right? What does yours say at that verse?
It says being, and then it says comma, as was supposed.
As was supposed. But that as was supposed is still in there.
But it's in commas, not parentheses.
Comma, not parenthesis. Okay. And do you have a King James?
It says, and was supposed.
And was supposed. Okay. Now, very important words. Very, very important words. Because here's what it says. Now, Jesus himself, he began his ministry about 30 years of age. Okay, great. He's a man of 30. But, being as was supposed, the son of Joseph. As was supposed. What does that mean? Well, Jesus wasn't born from Joseph. Joseph did not sleep with Mary to produce Jesus. It was supposed he did. Now, mind you, these people saw him, live. He was a 30-year-ish old man. So they're like, well, I mean, for the last 30 years, I mean, he grew up, so he has a father, he has a mother. That just is how it works. They knew biology enough then to know that that's kind of how it works. And we suppose, we know it's got to be Joseph's son. Well, even the Bible here is like, well, you know, being as was supposed, the son of Joseph. I love that. The son of Heli, or Healy, or however it's pronounced. But I love that part. It doesn't say Joseph, as was supposed, the son of, you know, because they didn't have to suppose that about him. But it's so funny to me that the Bible explicitly says, listen, it was just an assumption that this is Joseph's son, okay? Now, he was Joseph's son. Joseph raised him as his boy, right? And we're going to see that in a moment. But amazing to me that so many people try to say, well, no, Jesus is just another man. Well, no, you suppose he is. It's a supposition. It's an assumption. It's what you think he is. There's so many people out there who've assumed who Jesus is without knowing who he is. He is not born of man. He is born of woman. And he was born of the Holy Spirit with that woman. Okay, you understand? That's pretty amazing stuff. Okay, so now let's go to Matthew chapter 13. And we're jumping way in there to verse 53. So I'll give you a second to get to Matthew 13. All right, in verse 53 through 58, it starts out, it says, "Now it came to pass when Jesus had finished these parables." All right, so Jesus must have just gotten done telling some stories, some things that can be applied in different ways, like kind of metaphorical type things. But some people wonder, were these real things? Were they? But a lot of times they were spiritual truths taught as stories. And it says here that he departed from there. And when he had come to his own country, so he went back home, like where he was born at. Like he went back to his own country. He taught them in their synagogue. So he went to the church, the temple, the place of gathering of worship and learning the law and teaching in his own town where he grew up. And when he got there, it says, so that they were astonished. And here's what they said about him. Where did this man get this wisdom and these mighty works? Now, he must have been wise and doing mighty works. Because that wasn't the debate. It wasn't like, what a liar, you're not doing anything amazing. No, he was in the synagogue with the people where he was born, talking to them, and all of them are like, okay, all right, this guy's got something to say, and this is something I should listen to. This is amazing. And look at the great works he's doing. Now, I don't know all the different things he did while he was there, but I do know that John had written about if all the works that he ever did were written in books, that this earth couldn't even contain those books, okay? It's just so many things he did were great works, and they recognize that. Here's their confusion now. Is this not the carpenter's son? Well, there's another supposition. Well, I suppose this is Joseph's kid. Like, okay, this makes no sense. And it says, is not his mother called Mary? And his brothers, listen carefully, some churches that may teach that Mary didn't have babies with Joseph, okay? And his brothers, James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas, and his sisters, are they not all with us? Where then did this man get all these things? It made absolutely no sense to them. He walked in and he starts teaching, and he's brilliant. He is wise. He is learned. Everything he's saying must make sense to them because they weren't questioning his words. They weren't saying, well, you don't know what you're talking about. They were going, wow, he is talking about too much and knows too much. This doesn't make sense. And they look around and they're like, well, wait a minute. We grew up with this kid. I know this guy. I know his family. Joseph was his dad. He was a carpenter's son. And I know his mom. And I know his family. I know his brothers and sisters, okay? I know them. So what can he say or do? This makes no sense to me. It should not be happening. You get their confusion? And it says, so what were they? They were offended at him. How dare you know so much? How dare you teach us? How dare you, just you little carpenter guy who really doesn't matter? I know all your family. You have nothing special to say about me. And let me apply this, by the way, to today with you and me, okay? And all of us. When Jesus died, he made a promise to believers. He made a promise that he would leave and go be with his Father, and that when he went to do that, he would send another. He would send someone who would endue us with power, who would fill us, who would give us the ability to speak out wisdom, to speak out understanding, to reason together with unbelievers, to teach them that though their sin is scarlet, it will be as white as snow, and tell them of the truth of Jesus Christ. And a lot of times when we try to teach people or help people in this way, if you've ever done it or tried it, you'll get this. Well, who are you? How can you tell me this? You're a hypocrite. I know what you do. I know what your life looks like. I know your family. I know all of your problems. I know all of your issues. I know all those things. Well, listen. Sure. I have problems. I have issues. I have anxiety, depression, things I shouldn't have. There was a lady at work who is a wonderful Christian lady. I love her so much. And there was another Christian lady in a cubicle across from her. They were having a conversation. And they stopped me. And one of the ladies said, Bob, I got to have an understanding about this. Listen, that lady, I don't want to name names, that lady over there, she's always so joyous and upbeat. She said she wakes up in the morning and thinks, bless God, I'm ready to take on the world. I love Jesus. Let's do this. Amen. But when I wake up, Bob, that's not how I feel. I don't feel so good. I don't feel so happy. What am I missing? And I said, well, let me tell you something. When I wake up, I look at my life, And I wish it wasn't mine sometimes. I don't like my life sometimes. I don't feel good sometimes. I'm depressed about it sometimes. I can't stand it sometimes. I said, but here's the deal. She and you and I, we all have the joy of the Lord given to us. And I look at me and my life and I think, what a mess. And I look at his life that was given to me and I think, wow, I don't deserve this. We have different people to affect. We have different ways. Listen, you might be a joyful person all the time. But don't you dare look at somebody else who's not and think, what's wrong with them? Because they are as saved as you. Don't look at somebody who's always glum and upset and depressed and think, what's wrong with you? Don't look at somebody who's always joyous, always happy and think, why don't I have that? What's wrong with me? This happens in our minds. It starts to happen, it eats us away. That's not how this works. It's not the fact that Jesus is a carpenter's son. It's not the fact that we know his mom. It's not the fact that we know his brothers and sisters here on earth. It is that he is endued with a power, endued with this grace that is so amazingly him. He is love. He is mercy. He is grace. Like, we need this stuff. He is this stuff. And when they looked upon him, they saw it. And I'll tell you something, we all have the right to preach it and teach it and have confidence about it. No matter what our life looks like. Because if they keep looking at my earthly life, that's not what I'm trying to point them at. That's the earthly life that Jesus still entered into. I can't understand it. Grace and mercy given to me. That's what I get to do. That's what I get to share. That's what he was sharing. But what were they? They were offended by him. Because you're just a man. You're just a carpenter's son. What do they say about you? Well, I know you swear. I know you drink. I know you smoke. I know you struggle with your kids. I know you have this problem and that problem and this problem. Well, guess what? You can be offended by all that stuff all you want, but that's the stuff Jesus died for and forgave me for, and I am now forgiven. Amazing. Oh, I want to change a lot of it. You think I enjoy this? Like, I want to be like that? Oh, I love my depression. I just want to relish it and just stay in it all the time. It's just who I am, accept it. No, I don't want to be this way. There's some things I want to cut out of my life. There's some things I want to stop doing. And God's helping me do that. But not all of it's gone because I'm still Bob. I'm still a mess. They're offended, and they shouldn't be. Because they're looking at the wrong things about you. They're analyzing you in the wrong way. That's not how anyone should look at anybody. And so here it says that they're offended. And then, let's see, in verse, help me on the verse. Okay, 57. So they were offended at him, but Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor except in his own country and in his own home. Now he did not do many mighty works there because of their unbelief. You know, when people are offended by you and they know you and they get into your life and stuff, a lot of times you're not going to be the one to make much of a difference in their lives. Not always. Sometimes you'll show them, but you know there's times where people are so offended and closed-minded about what they think they know about us that they will never be affected by you. And so arguing and butting our heads against them is oftentimes not what we're supposed to be doing. Look for those that you can affect. Because there's certain people in your lives that you want to like you better, that don't like you, that may never like you. And it's time to just say, forget you. Because I'm not here to earn any more of your respect. And that's exactly what Jesus did while he was at home. He was like, you know what? These guys in the synagogue knew I was wise, knew what I was saying was real. They realized it. And you know what? You people who know me and know my family, you think you know my business? You think you know? You know, there's so many people we judge by things we think we know. You think you understand. Oh, well, your family's fallen apart, or oh, you struggle with addiction, or oh, you know, I feel so bad for you know what? You might not know a thing that you think you know about me.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And here Jesus, even Jesus himself, didn't do very many mighty works there. It just says right then, that's it. And so it says, let's go to John. John chapter 8. John chapter 8. This really is an amazing verse here where you start to see basically the dichotomy or the difference or the split on how people view Jesus, okay, and us. And this is why we're applying it right now to us. Because we look at ourselves this way sometimes. We start to think about our earthly selves, and we just get really down on who we are. Because we look at the messes, we look at our history, we look at what we don't have or have that we've messed up or whatever, and we start getting really, really depressed, okay? But Jesus, the man, and Jesus, God in the flesh, he existed in a perfect way that we can't. But look at this, okay? You see the spiritual versus terrestrial way of looking, like the earthly way of looking at circumstances in our lives and his life. It says, verse 50 of chapter 8, John, "And I do not seek my own glory." See, that would be earthly. That would be like praise here on the earth. Like, I want you to like me. I want you to appreciate me. I want you to uplift me. And so many of us are caught on that treadmill. We are caught on that taking a step toward being liked more, being enjoyed more, being appreciated more, being recognized more. It's an earthly thing we all tend to do. And so it says there is one who seeks and judges. Most assuredly I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he shall never see death. What a great promise, by the way. We will not die in Christ, because in Christ is life. And when you accept him, when you turn your life to him, we don't have that fear. When I close my eyes, they're going to open again to him. And I'm going to live in eternity with him. And it's something I'm not scared of. Now, in my earthly form, sure I am. Sure I am. Just today, I heard a gunshot when I was sitting in my car. Someone probably just target practicing, but instantly sparked up this fear. And I just kept picturing in my head getting hit with a bullet, and I don't want to die. But it's weird. There's crazy movies going on up here all the time. And so I'm not afraid of death spiritually. And here's what it says. So then the Jews, so they said to him, well, now we know you have a demon. Like, you must be possessed. And it says, Abraham is dead. They start looking at man, all the men, okay? And the prophets, bunch of men. And you say, if anyone keeps my word, he shall never taste death. Well, they're like, you got to be kidding. Well, are you saying Abraham didn't believe God? Are you saying that all these people didn't believe God? I mean, what's wrong with you? It says, are you, verse 53, greater than our father Abraham who is dead? And the prophets who are dead? Whom do you make yourself out to be? See that? They're saying, like, who do you think you are? Why are you trying to pretend you're somebody you're not? What is this, you liar, you demon-possessed freak? That's really what they're saying. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but in today's day and age, this is what they would say. Now, to their credit, if a man walked through the door right now and went, hey, Bob, sit down for a second, I'm Jesus, I need to teach. I might sit here and go, okay, everybody stay put, let's call the police. This might be a demon-possessed man. I mean, you know what I mean? Think about it earthly-wise. Like I might do that. I might think, okay, Michelle, it's probably one of yours, Miss Psychologist who works with some people. And it says, who do you make yourself out to be? But here's what Jesus answered. If I honor myself, my honor is nothing. You get that? Listen carefully. If I honor myself, my honor is nothing. And let me tell you something about you. If you honor yourself, your honor is nothing. Boy, do we do it. Guess what I did today? Guess what I accomplished? Guess what I bought? Guess what I. Isn't that what a Facebook status is all about? Like it's the day and age of social media where it's like, guess what I ate? Guess where I went? Guess who I'm with? Guess what I saw? Guess what I heard? That's really, it's a glorifying me thing. And I do it. I use it. And you know what? I got to tell you, I love when people give me comments and give me likes and enjoy Bob. And then they stop, Bob, that one post you posted, I love it. But if I do that, you know what that means to the world and to anything in the world? Nothing. It means nothing. And it says here, if I glorify or honor myself, my honor is nothing. It is my Father who honors me, of whom you say that he is your God. And it says, yet you have not known him, but I know him. And that's a lot of our message for the world. Like they curse our God, right? And it's so funny sometimes to me, and I've talked about people who, to my face, cursed my God, but they're not. They're not cursing my God. They're cursing the concept of God, who they think God is. But just like Jesus is saying here, you don't know God. Like you're cursing the wrong thing. Because whatever you think God is, that's not who God is. You just don't know yet. You don't know who he is. I know who he is. People in here know who he is. There are people out there that know who he is. And you think, well, you're just glorifying yourself, making yourself out to be the one who has the truth. No. And here it says, and if I say, I do not know him, I shall be a liar like you. But I do know him, and I keep his word. Learn from this statement, by the way. Have confidence in what you believe in. Have confidence in it. Because, you know what? If I say I do not know him, I'm lying to you. Because I do know him. And so if someone's offended or bothered by me because I say, listen, I know God. I want to talk to you about him. I really know him. And they're upset with me, I have to look at them and say, I'm sorry. I got to tell you I know him because I do. Like, do you want me to lie to you? Like, I can't tell you I don't know him. I can't. It would be a lie. Just like Jesus here. And it says, your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day. Talking about Jesus' day. And he saw it and he was glad. You know, Abraham knew through his seed the world would be saved. Not through his seeds, through his seed. He knew. God introduced him to the concept, I'm making a promise to you, Abraham, that all the children in the future will be blessed through your seed. And guess who came through the seed of Abraham? Jesus Christ. And through him, the whole world is blessed. And Abraham knew it and saw it and he was excited about it. And it says, then the Jews said to him, well, you're not yet 50 years old. What do you know? You're not even 50. Well, I'm not 50 yet, so I guess I don't know anything either. There's no one in the room over 50, I don't think. It was supposed, let's say, that there's no one in this room over 50. Oh, there is. Okay, I'm sorry, there is. But anyway, there's nobody in this room over 150 years old. That's what I will say, and that's not a lie. And it says, you're not even 50. Remember how short of a life Jesus lived, we talked about, right? And he started when he was around 30 speaking out in the public. And now they're looking at him and like, you're not even a 50-year-old man. What are you talking about? And it says, and you saw Abraham? That makes no sense to them. Jesus said to them, most assuredly, 100%, positively, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. Whew, that's such a big statement. Don't you ever let someone tell you that Jesus did not claim to be God. That's a lie. He did. Jesus was either a liar or a lunatic, or he was who he said he was, and that's God. And that's it. You can't argue anything else. You can tell me right to my face if you'd like to, Jesus was nuts. Tell me that. Because that's all you can say about it. Or you can say to me he was absolutely a lunatic. He was fooled by himself. He really thought he was God. He made a mistake. You can tell me that. But you can't tell me that Jesus never claimed to be God. He did. It's what he died about. That's the reason they threw him on the cross. He, right here, claims the name of God. Before Abraham was, you understand, I am is a statement of eternality. I have always been. So before he even began this Abraham, like he doesn't say I began. He says I am. Like that's it. Like Jesus was not created. He just always was. Now he was brought down in the flesh and dwelt among us. But he had always been with the Father. From eternity past until eternity future, there is no eternity future, just forever, eternity, he just is. He am. And just to really accentuate the point of what he was doing here, look what they do. In verse 59, they took up stones to throw at him, but Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple, going through the midst of them, and so passed by. Why in the world else would they pick up a bunch of stones to nail him over the head and kill him? They truly saw that as a statement of, I'm God. Straight up. I need you to know that. And so, it's amazing. But don't forget, when they're looking at him from these earthly eyes, they're like, well, you're just not even a man of 50. You're a little young guy. But he had the power of God because he was